You're listening to the Today in Manufacturing podcast.
Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to the Today in Manufacturing podcast. With me this week are Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells. We've been editors on manufacturing.net and industrial equipment news, covering the industry for about 15 years now. Every week, we cover the 5 biggest stories in manufacturing and discuss the implications they might have on the industry going forward. All right, before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by giving the podcast a positive review or really just passing it along to a friend. Finally, if you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, Anna, or David at IAN.com. We're live this week, so if you saw me mess up earlier, that's there forever. But you can also ask questions as well. We also have the new Today in Manufacturing t-shirts. If you'd like to have one, just shoot one of us an email, and we'll get it out to you in the mail this week. Anna, how are you doing this week?
Great. For those of you watching and listening, you can't tell how hot it is in here. I'm just going to tell you, it's so hot in here.
It's very cozy. Very cozy.
So hot.
Yeah. You know, Jeff, when we redid The Office, I guess maybe they didn't run the heat to see that all the heat went in the studio.
It all came into here.
Yeah, it worked. That was the plan. Mm-hmm. Good job.
Yeah, no, and it's good because it's freezing outside too.
Right.
Yeah. No, Jeff, how you doing this week?
Good, man. Good to have you back.
Yeah, thanks. It's I clearly didn't lose a step.
You're consistent. You're consistent with the intro.
Yeah, very good. All right, let's roll into our first story this week. Government lab decrypts Tesla driving data. Tesla debuted Autopilot about 7 years ago. Since then, the advanced driver assist technology has made headlines for everything from drivers sleeping in the back seat to deadly crashes. It took U.S. regulators years to look into Autopilot, while other nations are getting a bit more aggressive. A Tesla with Autopilot engaged was involved in a rear-end collision in the Netherlands. Tesla's cars collect and store driving data, but the company encrypts it. The government wanted more transparent access, but they were denied. So they found a solution. The Netherlands Forensic Institute reverse engineered and decrypted the company's driving data and found much more than they anticipated. They found details about Autopilot use as well as vehicle speed, pedal position, steering and braking for more than a year in some cases. The agency shared the information, hoping it would help analysts better investigate crashes involving Teslas. Jeff, do you think it was a good idea that they shared the information, or do you think that that's just going to make it easier for Tesla to have a stronger code?
Potentially. I think that's going to happen anyway. I guess I didn't have too many issues with them saying, hey, we cracked the code, so to speak. Mm-hmm. To me, this is sort of a bigger issue, and it kind of creates what I think is a real slippery slope in terms of how you're going after and getting some of this data that's sort of a combination of personal for the driver as well as proprietary for Tesla. Mm-hmm. You know, for me, this really goes back to telematics, which first started being a thing probably the mid-90s with vehicles. The concept there was for the vehicle to be able to send information to wherever you got your vehicle fixed. Mm. So basically, those providers could have the parts available. They could say, hey, look, we know David's vehicle is coming up for an oil change. Let's make sure we have everything. The brakes have X amount of miles. The engine's making a funny noise, that type of thing. It was sort of guised under improving operator safety, but the reality is it was maintenance dollars. That's really what it was about at that point, and especially getting people to go more to the dealership, because at that point there was still a very, very strong independent dealer network that people could go to get their cars fixed. Mm-hmm. So that's where it started, and from there it also went on to the insurance companies, then having little plug-in devices, kind of track how fast you were going, and if you were being a safe driver, and using that potentially for discounts and other things. Progressive, a bunch of other insurance companies obviously still have that going strong. Now we've gotten to a different age where we have what the equivalent of a dozen computers essentially under the hood of your vehicle, lots of sensors collecting all of this information. Now, for the vehicles that we drive, non-Teslas, they can do that. Yeah. There's a black box essentially in your car. They can track all this information if they want to, but here in the U.S., it's a proprietary thing. You have to sign it over to say if you want to share that information with an insurance company or whomever. So for the Netherlands and this government agency, or this basically this police law enforcement agency, to go in and work around that code, work around the individual who owns the vehicle and getting that information, I have a lot of trouble there. Mm-hmm. I can't get on board with that, because even though their motives may be sincere in going after and trying to make things as safe as possible, and also working with Tesla, who is big surprise. Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but they didn't have a response.
Yeah.
They did not respond to inquiries about this story.
Odd.
Big surprise. I can understand that frustration there, but I still struggle with the fact that there's a lot of personal data and a lot of other things that are at stake here, and they're working around the protocols that are in place to get that information. I didn't like that, especially when we're basically talking about a traffic accident. I think it is different when there is, we've run some of these stories with autopilot where people were killed. And in those incidents where you're looking at potential criminal charges and loss of life, then I can see maybe navigating this a little bit differently. In this instance, I feel like they went too far.
But isn't this them getting out in front of it by maybe accessing this information? Maybe they help prevent the next accident where somebody dies. Whereas if Tesla was maybe a little more transparent with the information, they wouldn't have to do so.
Okay, but that's autopilot. That's not all of this other stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what they were looking for. They were looking for more information in autopilot, and they were kind of stunned as to how much information was actually in there.
Okay, but do you feel comfortable with that agency having all that information about your driving habits?
Honestly, I don't care. But what sort of nefarious thing are they going to do with that?
But it's going to go beyond that, because in a lot of these cases, and they didn't get into this specifically here, they were just looking at the sort of the mechanical data, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But if there's an infotainment system in there that's tracking your preferences and that's connected to your smartphone, there's also a way to get a lot of information there about you personally that's going to be stored basically through the same network. I think this just creates a real slippery slope in terms of where does it stop?
Yeah.
What's okay for them to look at? What's not okay for them to look at? I don't think that's up to this agency to determine that.
Jeff, but just because you don't want them to know that you're listening to the Twilight soundtrack when you're driving doesn't mean
Used
that-
to.
Used to.
Used to.
Is Twilight soundtrack pretty good?
I know. I get it. This is a hack, essentially, right? So I can see people's discomfort a bit with that. Where's the threshold in terms of when this is appropriate? I think you raised some good points, but also I thought it was interesting to just see what a government could and would do when it comes to dealing with a company that won't cooperate with them, because Tesla's doing the same thing in the U.S. And we've had a very different response, as you kind of alluded to. It's been a very slow process, and we're not allowing this industry to police itself, right? Last I checked, so. I don't know. It just seems like the Netherlands may be doing something that the U.S. has not had the guts to do yet. The NTSB had recently went on record, in an interview on NBC or something, and said that the self-driving program that Tesla had rolled out was misleading. She used the word misleading. And they also sent a letter to Elon Musk recently about the company's failure to respond to recommendations issued by NTSB 4 years ago. To limit the system's functionality that Tesla never responded to. It's been 4 years. How long are we going to let Elon Musk kind of run wild with the system? I know this is a different country. This is not something that we're doing. But when I saw it, I was kind of okay, well, if he's not going to do anything, and he's not responsive, he's very opaque with how this is operating. We've seen a ton of problems with it. I think a lot of people are very uncomfortable with how the system is being used on public roads when it's not perfected and it's got a lot of problems that he's admitted that it's got a lot of problems.
Well, and Jeff, a lot of times when we're talking about Tesla Autopilot, you actually kind of side with the regulators that there needs to be more transparency, that Tesla needs to do more in making a safer product. I think this is an instance of, data collection is good and necessary for the evolution of this product. And if Tesla and Musk are going to drag their feet, maybe this is something to spur a little bit of action that makes the road safer.
But I think we're looking at this from two different perspectives. You guys are looking at it from a Tesla perspective, and I agree there.
Yeah.
An automotive manufacturer does be more transparent. There shouldn't be anything that they need to hide outside of proprietary production specs or technologies, okay? I understand from a safety perspective, they do need to be more transparent. I'd agree with that 100%. But when we start getting into individual data, this is personal data on how this individual functions within their vehicle. That's where I have a problem.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't know, where are these folks going to start and stop? Are they just going to say, okay, look, we're not going to look at anything else. All we're looking is this set of data that would happen at this particular time? Because if they are, they're better than 99.9% of all other human beings on this planet. Okay, nobody does that. They're going to continue to dig deeper and look at more things to see what else they can find. That's their job.
Yeah.
And I don't feel comfortable with that.
I mean, like, the same argument was being made at the time when Apple was being asked to like crack into the phone of that person that was like wanted and on a manhunt in California and try to find him, and they refused to do so. And the slippery slope argument again, and I get that. I just feel like there's got to be a middle ground between like, we're not exactly breathing down Tesla's neck right now, getting them to comply with what they need to do to make sure that this product is safe. So where can we meet in the middle on this that makes sense to like, I think maybe pursue them in a more aggressive way without, taking advantage of people's personal data.
And they did kind of, respond to your point where they said, quote, they were going to use the information to objectively investigate. That's it.
That's all that's being done, Jeff.
That's it. That's it.
I mean, how could that possibly go sideways?
Put that under your pillow.
But I mean, like, you have...
Under my pillow.
Yeah. Is this...
Already?
So you can sleep
So I
well
can
at
sleep
night.
at night.
Sleep on it? Oh, okay.
That's all I meant.
I have not heard that one.
I mean, but do you have like a Amazon Echo device or a Google device or even a smartphone? Because, I mean, if you're worried about people with your...
But I know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that's what's happening.
You know what's going
I
on with your
get that.
smartphone?
And you're fine with them
I hope
having...
so.
You're fine with them having every personality profile that they possibly could on you, but you're worried about the Netherlands knowing where you prefer your pedal position?
Okay, do you want your vehicle being tracked all the time?
I mean, I feel like it already is. No, I don't want it tracked all the time, but I don't think that's not what they were doing here. They weren't tracking it.
But David, that's my point.
Yeah.
They can.
Yeah.
Once they get in this deep, they can do whatever they want. If they can get in there and see how your vehicle is operating down to the details of your pedal position, they can find out everything else. And what's going to stop somebody from coming along and taking that the next step and saying, I'm going to retroactively give you a speeding ticket because you were going 36 and a 25 while you were running late for daycare drop-off.
Oh, there's that slippery slope.
Yep. Okay.
You're slipping right down
Yeah,
it.
this slope is definitely slippery. I've seen the error of my ways. We're all going down for going 30 and a 25.
You've never gone 30 and a 25.
That's true.
All right. While we're confessing to other sins.
All right.
Our next story this week is another banger. The world is running out of the color blue. Can you believe it? Paint company Asco Noble is running out of the ingredients to make blue paint, and the color tint has become, quote, extremely difficult to get. The CEO says there's no reason for it. The company's CEO says the capacity for making raw materials never changed, yet his company is now expecting cost increases and shortages into 2022. Besides blue, shortages include an additive needed to make waterproof formulas and even the tin plates for paint cans. Sherwin-Williams has also voiced concerns over shortages. Part of the problem can be attributed to the deep freeze in Texas earlier this year, which hurt petroleum products, a key paint ingredient. Anna, were you planning on painting anything blue in your house?
Not anymore.
It's over.
Yep. I'm going with a chartreuse. Is that green? I don't.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I won't.
Light blue?
I won't be, is
Yeah.
the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting. The story was very interesting. It is green.
It is green. Yeah. Nailed it.
The story was interesting, and it focused a lot on like material chain issues, which is important, I think. But I think something that the CEO of Asco Nobel didn't really acknowledge when he was talking about like there's no reason for this was what's actually happening from a procurement standpoint. You know, we talked a lot about panic buying from a consumer side. Everything from toilet paper, grocery items, diapers, whatever, the empty store shelves, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out that businesses are doing this too. And if you look at the history of inventory management and manufacturing, it's been typical, like looking backwards, to have like an enormous amount of extra inventory on your shelves because people, I wouldn't call it panic buying, but like almost like an insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to run out. It's always been like a very big cost center for manufacturers to have all this inventory, MRO stuff just sitting on their shelves because it either gets stolen, it gets lost, it expires. So, you know, inventory waste has long been a big problem. And in the last, 5 to 10 years, there's really been a lot of focus on that sided the business as a cost center and trying to manage those costs, maybe having your supplier hold on to that inventory and get it more on a just-in-time basis. It seems like companies got burned by that during the pandemic because of all this supply chain stuff. So I think maybe manufacturers are going backwards like quite a bit here. When you look at some of the purchases that are being made, and they're probably buying a little bit excess. And it's really having these big ripple impacts down the supply chain. So, I mean, there's many reasons not to do it. One, obviously, you're losing money just holding that stuff. Mm-hmm. Two, you might never get to use it. So it could actually be like lost money. Mm-hmm. But then three, look at these companies, these paint companies who they're like, we don't understand why this is happening to our business. Well, one of the reasons outside of that deep freeze, outside of the pigment stuff and, those shortages, but, they just... people are overbuying, so I think that's a big side of it too.
Yeah. Jeff, how about yourself? Remodeling plans and their impact on the paint shortage.
Mine should have a pretty minimal effect, but we did actually repaint my youngest daughter's room a shade of blue about 2 years ago, and I kept the paint. Actually went through all that.
Black market.
Yeah. So I do have a gallon of Sherwin-Williams blue paint if somebody's interested.
You got to get that on the gray market.
Wonder what that'd be worth now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this color, I was just kind of curious. I wasn't sure where to go with this. It is kind of interesting, first of all, that it's almost, to have a story that's not about a pandemic-related supply chain issue is a little refreshing almost. I don't know if that's the right word, but it brings a little bit of normalcy to it. I guess blue has become a super popular color for exteriors. Yeah. People are painting their home some variation of blue. So it's probably using a lot of mixtures and stuff like that. And I guess what that got me thinking a little bit about is kind of connecting the dots. We just had our house painted about 2 years ago. And if that individual's paint costs go up, obviously he's got to charge more for that. The whole overall cost of using a professional then increases as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, could these types of supply chain issues then have an effect on some of the trades? Oh, yeah. I mean, you mentioned, these guys, Axo Nobel, they've got, if they want to buy tin, I would think in a typical situation, they've got 10 people lined up to sell them containers for their paint. And now they're having trouble just even finding that. Right. So when we look at plumbers, HVAC folks, electricians, if their raw materials are going up that much in price and they have to charge more, folks are seeing these price increases. What's that going to do to those industries, you wonder?
It hasn't broken yet because people are still, the pandemic just set off a fire of people remodeling their homes. And we recently had somebody come in to give us a quote, and it was laughable. It was the quote where it was just like, all right, if they agree to this price, we have to do it. But, it's a big issue. So that kind of, we haven't found the straw to break the camel's back there yet. But I feel like it is quickly approaching, particularly between materials and labor.
It's kind of a shame because finally you feel like these folks are getting paid what they have deserved to. They deserve to get paid, and they were underpaid for decades. Yeah. Now it's finally caught up, and now it could be potentially supply chain issues and raw material issues. Yeah. That kind of hinder their business and their ability to grow.
Just a good old-fashioned ecological disaster to cause this one. Yeah. No pandemic. The one thing when I was looking this up is I found articles with the headline, "Here's where to buy it before it sells out." When you read articles that say that, whatever the item, don't buy it. Do not buy it. And especially don't click those links because they're getting paid on that one.
Is that like when like CNBC or some of the other financial networks have somebody from the stock market be like, I'd sell all like McDonald's, Ford, and GE. Just get rid of them. They're going to tank. Yeah. Because he has no interest in buying them up. Right?
Yeah. So. Oh, yeah. No, I was just, and I also, digging into this a little bit because I was also working on a companion piece about the whitest white paint, which I hope we get to cover sometime. I became acquainted with American Painting Contractor, also known as paintmag.com. Yeah. My new favorite place on the website, other than our websites, of course. Paint isn't the only problem that's causing this shortage. There's an incredible shortage of painters, if you guys could believe it, that there's someone out there looking for labor. But so
there's not a shortage of my husband.
Oh, sorry, Chris.
You do all of our painting, is what I meant.
When I saw this story, the first thing I thought was, "Good. I hate painting."
Agreed. Yeah, I totally agree. Especially ceilings. Oh yeah. Man, paint one ceiling, and that is it. I am hiring in a heartbeat.
So you're just like, we can't paint because
there's a shortage.
Paint. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we don't want to get gouged.
don't look.
No.
Yeah, there's still no paint.
But we do have a commercial painter in the family, and he has had tremendous trouble staffing to the point where he just got to the point where he just ran with smaller crews this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, I haven't been able to talk to him yet about the paint shortage, but I mean, he was already out of people to do the painting. Now he's out of the product. I feel like that's going to get real tight. Yeah. The other thing I believe that we were talking about was problems with importing goods. So one thing in particular is getting titanium dioxide from China. Had no idea what that did, but it's apparently called the most important white pigment in the coatings industry because it helps make paint whiter, brighter, and more opaque.
Whoa.
So not only can we not color blue, we can't really color anything that needs white, which is every color, can't paint.
Can't make anything lighter.
No. It's it just seems like a really interesting problem. But Anna, did you find comfort in that this was not a pandemic-related supply chain problem and that just simple old...
I mean, like I said, though, I feel like there's no such thing as not a pandemic-related supply chain problem. I mean, people overbuying is a pandemic-related supply chain problem, in my opinion. True. I mean, the fact that they can't get this titanium oxide from China is a pandemic-related supply chain problem. So, I know that, like we said, it goes back to some of these other issues, but I don't think that it's insulated 100% from that at all.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, at the end of it, we just figured out that none of us are painting this next quarter.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. No one get out and paint. It's a terrible time. All right. Our next most popular story this week. Build this eVTOL. Swedish startup Jetson Aero is making an electric eVTOL, or vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, called the Jetson 1. It's an ultraviolet craft, or an ultraviolet. It's an ultralight craft, so you don't need a pilot license to fly it. And users assemble it themselves as it comes about 50% complete. The 1 is a simple quadcopter for a single occupant. The all-aluminum airframe weighs 190 pounds and cannot be flown by a pilot who weighs more than 210 pounds. Flight controls are a 3-axis joystick and throttle lever. Flight time is 20 minutes with a 187-pound pilot, and the top speed, 63 miles per hour. It costs $92,000, but Anna, the 2022 model, is already sold out.
Bummer.
No numbers on how many they sold, but they're gone.
Yeah. Well, this won't surprise you guys at all, but I hate this concept.
No.
I know. What?
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I am not their target market, believe it or not, with this product.
Yeah.
No, I hate it because some interesting data came out this week that I think illustrates just how the U.S. population is becoming more and more reckless. The NHTSA just announced that the first half of 2021 is the worst for road safety we've had since 1975. Road deaths increased 18%, which is if compared to 1975 when people weren't really even wearing seatbelts, that makes this so much more alarming to me. The fact that we have all these safety features within our vehicles and people are still dying.
Yeah.
They looked at behavior in their research report and determined that people are speeding more and they're also not wearing their seatbelts.
Really?
And this is from in comparison to pre-pandemic.
Which one of those are you shocked by?
The seatbelt. Why go backwards on that one?
Yeah.
I figured it was distracted driving. Well, I mean, it's understandable if you have a car that doesn't have seatbelts in it, but I figured, of all things we were past.
Well, you would think, right? But they're sort of ascribing this trend to the past 2 years as people are becoming more reckless. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because we all stared death in the face with this pandemic and people are just
yeah, what's it matter?
But I don't think we've earned the right to access more potentially dangerous technology, especially something where no pilot's license is required. It's sort of half DIY.
Yeah.
I think it's going to attract a certain type of buyer, maybe somebody that's, has a higher appetite for risk than I do, clearly. I think it's going to be problematic. I'm not trying to come nanny state on this or whatever, but no. I think we do have to be concerned about the innocent people that could be collateral damage. I mean, this thing only weighs 250 pounds, but that's hurtling towards you from the sky. That could do some damage. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think you don't get a redo if you like do it wrong, and if you don't know how to do it,
Right.
and no one's testing you.
That's how life works. No redo.
No redo.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just not into it.
Yeah, no, as a person that's riskier, I definitely like this thing.
You are in the definite minority on this panel. This is a horrible idea.
No, I mean, come on. I just started
This is
saving for it
terrible.
now. By the time I have enough to buy it, we should be back down to winter or get that winter weight off. And I'll be able to fly it. You don't like it as an idea?
This is terrible.
Yeah.
First of all, your tagline should not be, what is it? Make everyone a pilot.
Oh, yeah.
Let's
That
not
is
make everyone a pilot.
horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, everyone should not be a pilot.
No.
This is obvious just by watching people navigate a car.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Don't put them in the air. Have you gone 60 miles an hour in a snowmobile, a jet ski,
yeah.
a boat,
Like an
any of
ATV.
these things that is not have like an enclosed frame?
Yeah.
That is incredibly fast.
Yeah.
And if you've got 250 pounds of lightweight aluminum as the only thing that's protecting you when you fall out of the sky, bad things are going to happen. Especially when you have to finish putting it together. In what world does it make sense to put together the thing you're going to be flying in?
Yeah, I mean,
How does that make sense? How is that a good idea?
that makes.
You got nothing.
No, 100%. That's where I agree with you. Is that the fact that this is like a kit car? Like
It's not a kit car.
No, but the fact that you can build your own car and drive it, I already find that to be too risky. So building your
But
own.
you need a license to drive a car, and
Yeah.
you need a license. You need to get that vehicle licensed to be on the road.
Yeah, I
This is like Wild West stuff here.
Yeah. Oh, where's the button?
Meep.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think it's that dangerous.
Okay, 60
What?
people a year die on these ultra lightweight aircraft.
60?
60.
That's lower than I thought.
How many exist?
Yeah. No.
70?
I mean, there are way worse commercials or products that have been commercialized. And I mean, if we could justify a gun that's sold 50% complete and you can try like making your own barrel for it, like this is no.
I didn't justify that.
Or
Who did?
People justify that. That's how they sell. They get around some gun laws. Anyway, I don't think it's that devious. First of all, do you know how many people had to die to make Orbit City a reality? It's a city in the Jetsons, man. I mean, it's a beautiful place now, but I mean, they
You
had
just casually dropped Orbit City and we were like, what?
Durr.
yeah, no, they. I mean, you gotta, you want to make an omelet, you gotta crack some eggs. So if we're gonna realize
What
our
is the
urban
benefit
air
of
mobility,
this?
urban air mobility, this is just the next step.
This thing can only go 20 feet in the air.
Yeah, I know. This is just for, running to the grocery store. I'm just going to pop into this thing, get over to Pick and Save,
Yeah.
maybe get a kid on my lap because I'm sure,
The next step.
Horrible.
The next step to voiding
Terrible.
your life insurance
The one
policy.
thing that I would say too, I think from looking at their site, they only sold like a dozen of these.
Yeah.
So I think that was their capacity was 12.
Yeah.
So thankfully, there's only 12 people putting their life in danger, I guess,
But
for $92,000.
so urban air mobility and flying cars will be a reality at some point. Is this just not safe enough? Is it too soon? What do you?
It's not too. It's definitely not safe enough.
Yeah.
Okay. You need. I mean, there's no way around that.
Yeah.
There's no. I mean, the video, the B-roll, like they have on their site, it looks like somebody who got really excited about Star Wars, watching Luke Skywalker and his speeder go across the
It does
desert
look
of Tatooine.
it does
That's
look
what
like
it
a
looks
speeder.
like.
No, so it is safe. It's able to fly on only 3 rotors. So if one goes out, not in trouble yet.
Here's another thing that kind of caught my eye. Anytime they make a point of saying repeatedly on the website, our first focus is safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
Yeah. No,
Jeff's
it
not
has
buying it.
triple layers of redundancy. That sounds safe to me.
That sounds like a paper toweling commercial.
Hands-free hover, Oh, and
Hands-free hover?
Wait.
You don't have to flap your arms? What does that mean?
does it really only fly 20 feet above ground?
That's what it's recommended.
Then why does it have a parachute?
You have to go higher than that in order for the parachute to deploy.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, a lot of things aren't adding up here.
Yeah, you're going to hit some power lines with this, David.
So we got a comment from a viewer for Anna and Jeff. What developments do you need to see from the eVTOL to make it more to make you more comfortable with the idea, Anna's answer is nothing.
No developments at this time. Thank you.
Number one, don't let me put it together.
Yeah.
Number two, you need to be a licensed pilot. Okay, let's start there.
I think that's just a good step for all aircraft. I get that, this is the ultralight aircraft is kind of an easy way around getting a pilot's license. But if I'm going to fly, I'm going to want to be, qualified.
Yeah, but you are not everyone who's buying this vehicle. Like,
No. I used to work with a guy that's crashed like 3 planes. I know that there are some reckless people out there.
yeah.
But I mean, how many times have you crashed like an RC plane or like a remote control plane? They're just, I don't trust myself with a drone.
Not in the remote control plane.
But I'm just saying,
man.
I'm saying that I've crashed quadcopters before, and that's why I wouldn't trust myself unless I had training on this quadcopter.
Okay.
Which I would make sure to have plenty of training. We'll get them together.
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
You would not. You would be the guy, somebody put it together in their garage and be like, that looks awesome. Can I go?
Yeah. I'm just going to pop up, take it for a quick ride. It's only a 5-gallon tank. You can't get far.
Right.
You can get up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't get far.
It's, like you said, it's aluminum, probably a good roll cage. I'll have a helmet. I won't wear a helmet.
Don't do it, David.
Yeah. All right. Agree to disagree, guys. Our next most popular story this week, factories linked to billionaires' Ponzi scheme. One of Ukraine's richest men is using vacant Midwestern factories to hide money from the government. Industrial banking and media tycoon Ihor Kolomiski allegedly used factories to squirrel away millions from a Ponzi scheme in the U.S. A network of firms purchased more than a dozen properties and factories around the nation, including a doomed Motorola factory in Illinois. Local officials made the deals without asking many questions. The factories and mills continued to sit idle. Kolomiski faces ongoing corruption probes and has denied wrongdoing. Anna, do you believe his denial?
I don't really care, honestly, at this point, because the results of this have been kind of, I don't know, there's just been really some sad details surrounding this, especially, so I read the Politico report when it first published, and it focuses a bit on the Motorola plant that was purchased by his conglomerate in Harvard, Illinois.
Right.
And it was a big factory project. There was like a couple of years of boom on this, and then the bottom fell out of their market and they closed down. So it was really difficult for that community, which is like a town of 10,000 residents in Illinois. It's kind of like a small town. Just to lose those jobs. And then I think they were hoping someone would buy that plant. So when it was purchased, obviously it continued to sit vacant. I think they owned it for like 5 years. And all it did during that time was just fall into further disrepair. It's full of mold apparently now. The city of Harvard did not have the kind of budget to like absorb the hundreds of thousands of dollars in property taxes that were going unpaid by the owners of this building. And so now the town is basically saying that the building's not just valueless, it's like a catastrophe for the town because they have to demolish it. And what they said in Politico, they quoted a city official who said that the net cost for that after salvage is probably 3 to 5 times the city's annual budget.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, the city is essentially to be bankrupted by this if they proceed with trying to tear this factory down, which is a blight, an eyesore at best. I mean, it's dangerous probably for people, who knows what's going on in there. So,
and they lost all of that time potentially to try to make it.
To repurpose it at some point. And now it's like a lost cause. You can't use that building anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's a 1.5 million square foot facility that spans 320 acres. Yeah. And cost $100 million. It's incredible. I found it incredible that he bought it for $16.75 million. And he does this all the time. It sounds like this is a reoccurring where his conglomerate buys up these factories or plants, promises new jobs, revitalization, and Jeff, it just doesn't seem like it ever pans out.
It's a super sad story. I actually ran into another great article from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's website by Michael Sala called Dirty Dollars, and it goes into this in greater detail. And what he focused on really in his report was Warren Steel, which has a couple of different facilities in northern Ohio and that were purchased, that basically had a couple of really bad safety incidents, bad fires, explosions, things like that went on in these steel factories, and they were closing down. They weren't going anywhere. This guy comes in and buys them. So this community all of a sudden has the hope of, oh man, there's going to be an infusion of dollars, get these mills back up and running. Nothing. And eventually they're closed down. People lose jobs. All this excitement and energy that was there surrounding these industries, which are struggling to begin with. And it's just false hope, and it's just crushing, I mean, to these communities, like Anna just said. And then there's the infrastructure costs and lost tax dollars and everything else. I think at first my thought was, boy, why didn't these municipalities dig more deeply into these buyers? But when you're looking at shell corporations, this was coming from the Ukraine to someplace else in the EU down to, I think it was the Caribbean or like the Bahamas or something like that, and then funneled through all these different shell companies. How in the world are you going to track that? It takes special investigators from government law enforcement just to figure it out. And it took them, 10, 12 years.
Well, and it took a lot of that came out in the Pandora Papers, the 12 million documents that came out about how these billionaires are using shell companies, trusts, real estate, and other financial tools to stash enormous amounts of money. But to your point, we've seen this happen when there was nothing underneath the surface with Foxconn, where it was you are just promised with a little bit of promise. You just say jobs, revitalization. We're bringing business back to the state. Yeah. And I don't think people need to look beyond that at all. I think people just hear that it's a win for my administration.
Yeah, a lot of it is political. You're right, but a lot of it is also the community. And with Foxconn, it was different. I mean, there was some backlash there. Not everybody was totally on board with that. But in these instances, you also had the community fully behind the potential that these guys promised, or this individual and his shell companies and everything else. I mean, this would be a great miniseries or limited story. I mean, it's just an incredible story when you dig into how complex this was. Essentially, and I was trying to understand all this money laundering and everything else. I guess what it basically came down to is they were setting up these companies that were basically making loans to these other companies. And that's just how they kept the money filtering through all these different places with whatever he ended up doing. It was like $1.5 billion or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, he also owns steel factories in West Virginia and Kentucky and Ohio, production plants in Michigan and New York and Indiana. So while we talk about Harvard, Illinois, these are a lot of people that are deeply impacted by this one person, and it seems to be not limited to Mr. Kolomiskyi here.
Yeah,
it's also I also find it very unfortunate that he kind of laughs in the face of everybody that's kind of coming after him about this. Just no regard for the people that live there. Also, the one question I had, so if these properties are vacant, like the one in Harvard in particular, is the only thing that they lost the ability to sort of either try and keep it up or find somebody that would use it? Because, I mean, they still did get $16.75 million for the facility.
In this instance, I mean, it's a combination of things, right? It was the fact that they were promised that these folks were going to come in here and actually do something with it and creating all these jobs, creating a tax base, paying property taxes, which they never did. Yeah. So it's that loss. It's the loss that they couldn't find a viable customer for it as well. But then, and as Anna mentioned, with that place in Harvard, Illinois, they have to tear it down, essentially. Yeah. I think they did. Did they actually sell that building? But I think it's sort of...
It was sold
again. It was pennies on the dollar, essentially, for what they ended up getting for it.
Well, and we don't know who got the money when they, maybe Motorola was holding that asset. We don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. All right, our most popular story this week. 17 killed in Russian gunpowder factory blast. A fire and subsequent explosion at a Russian ammunition disposal plant in Russia killed the entire shift. The blast killed 17 and was caused by an unspecified failure during the production process. Officials think the fire started in a gunpowder workshop. A criminal investigation has been opened. Local authorities say the blast is another example of a need to improve safety standards in, quote, hazardous industries. And Anna, yes, it is another reminder of the need to improve safety standards.
Yeah. we look at these types of incidents and we think, well, these happen in places in the globe that have fewer regulations, like Russia, India, China. But this stuff still happens here, I think in large part due to negligence. I mean, we covered this story in one of our first ever podcasts back in February, if you guys recall, about a company in New Hampshire called Black Meg. And that former owner, a man named Craig Sanborn, was sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison after 2 workers died on his watch, basically because he didn't train people adequately. He didn't implement even the most basic of safety protocols, and he was convicted of manslaughter in the end. He tried to get out of prison this year, and that was denied. Yeah, but you know, it can happen here. It can happen anywhere. That said, I think this is sort of a dying industry in the U.S. I saw that Hodgdon Powder Company, I think is that how you say it? I'm not a gun person, but they are the largest supplier of smokeless black powder and black powder substitute propellants. They announced this month that they are winding down their Camp Minden, Louisiana black powder plant, which is eliminating the only domestic source of black powder in the United States. So that's by the end of the year shutting down. Do you guys think that from a safety point of view, this is good, or would you rather see a domestic supply chain for this product? Because it really is about kind of ceasing to exist here.
I don't know what you need black powder for, especially. I mean, in my understanding, the smokeless powder that's used in the weapons that I, you know, for my 22, my shotgun, stuff like that, I don't need black powder. So I don't exactly know what all the other domestic applications would be. So I don't know if that's really necessary. I know it's needed for bigger stuff. Okay. When you have artillery shells, you do need black powder. So, I mean, there still needs to be a supply chain for that for military applications. So if this was purely a domestic focused product manufacturing plant, I don't know what the need is for it, to be very honest. I know there's some folks that still like to do some muzzle loading, some muzzle hunting and stuff like that. Again, I don't know. The thing that's really kind of ironic, or I don't know, interesting to me, is when you look at the best ways to dispose of black powder, which is the stuff that's the problem here, or gunpowder overall, it's water. You apply water to this powder and it's basically done. It's over and stuff. So when we see about these explosions and these fires based on munitions disposal, which is what this facility was, again, I'm not an expert on this process, and I'm sure it's much more complicated than just putting it in the sink. Yeah. But boy, when you saw the clip of this explosion on YouTube, it's out of a movie. I mean, it
blew the roof off.
It's crazy. I mean, and you got this huge brick building and this huge fireball going up behind it. It's incredible, and it's tragic, obviously.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, it wiped out the entire shift. And Anna, to your point, I think that when we no longer have a domestic supply chain, that there should be more responsibility as to where they're going to get it. And maybe that's how facilities like this, we've seen facilities overseas in the textile industry. There's no oversight locally or with governments. And so maybe there is a little bit where companies can be a little bit more, push the agenda in terms of improving safety in some of these places. I know that they don't have to, but maybe, you know, with some of the PR problems that some of these companies have had, particularly, you know, in the fashion industry, that has actually helped create a bit of change. And maybe that's something that we can help make other facilities safer. I don't know. Potentially, yeah. I know that that's a little bit too much optimism for this podcast.
Well, not necessarily for the U.S. industrial sector, but for this one, it's interesting because this is a PGUP Elastic Factory. That's the name of the company that was operating this facility. Yeah. It's a Rostec company. It's a Russian tech conglomerate. Putin started this a decade ago. So it does make you a little more suspicious as far as what was actually going on there. Yeah. And I was surprised at the transparency around the story in terms of the victims and what was actually going on there. And there was actually a lot of tough, quote unquote, talk about regulations and violations that were happening here. What's interesting, though, is when I was looking at a website, France24.com, they're a news agency that was reporting on this and was closer to it than a lot of the U.S. agencies were. They've talked to a lot of the local news media, and they said this facility had been bankrupt since like 2015.
What?
So that they felt it was thought that basically Rostec was bringing in basically anybody who needed to do munitions work into this facility to do it, which means they probably weren't being real safe. They probably weren't. It was probably something that Rostec could make a fair amount of money on without sort of circumventing the regulations and everything else. So they can talk about there are these violations, they were doing it wrong. At the end of the day, that's a Russian government agency talking about a government-owned company.
Yeah.
So what's going to change there?
Interesting.
Yeah. It made me think of the two facilities in the U.S. that are used to destroy old chemical weapons. The Bluegrass Chemical Agent Destruction Pilot Plant in Kentucky and the Pueblo Chemical Agent Destruction Plant in Colorado. And the reason it made me think of that is because we've done a couple of stories on these, and these are extremely automated plants that destroy incredibly powerful weapons, mustard agent weapons that date back to the 40s that were used in rockets and other projectiles, and how it can be done right in terms of decommissioning these weapons. So there's got to be a better way, regardless. Yeah. And we certainly know that they weren't doing it. Yeah. All right, let's move on to In Case You Missed It this week. Anna, let's start with you. And In Case You Missed It, where we try and cover the stories that, maybe weren't as popular as the other stories this week. What did you think people missed?
Well, this week we covered my favorite government pandemic relief fund fraud story yet, which is saying a lot because we've covered a lot of them.
Yeah.
A Georgia man has been accused of fraudulently obtaining $85,000 in Small Business Administration pandemic relief funds for an unnamed business that he apparently inflated the size of, and he was somehow misrepresented his business. Anyway, bad enough on its own, but then it was revealed that he spent a solid 2/3 of his $85,000 on a single Pokemon card.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it was rare, so
Yeah,
it was
you hope
probably
so. Yeah. It just wasn't a bad deal.
It was
Yeah.
probably
It got sold.
super cool. Yeah. I just have to say that I would respect it more if it were literally anything else.
What?
Anything else. Like if I were on that jury, I would be impartial if it were like a Mercedes or something, or
This is his Mercedes.
like a European river cruise.
This
something
is-
I like just something else. Anything.
Do you
else.
know how much street cred he now has in the Pokemon
Yeah,
underworld?
in the like 12 to 14-year-old.
You would be surprised.
No,
Yeah.
I know that it's an.
You're thinking of 12 to 14-year-olds, but in context, all those 12 to 14-year-olds are like 30 and 40-year-olds now.
Yeah, Pokemon's huge.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know that it's huge. I just let's get back to how dumb this is. $58,000 on a card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also your point of your favorite pandemic-related fraud, I don't know about that one. My favorite is definitely the
We
escort.
know. Yep.
The escort who got busted for fraud and then applied and received more fraudulent funds for another fake business while she was already being prosecuted. Now that is an entrepreneur.
I know. We talked about this
takes some
last week,
guts.
and like there were like literally zero safeguards in this system.
Oh, yeah.
Great job, federal government, on that. I know that the program helped a lot of people, but it also helped a lot of people buy Pokemon cards, apparently.
Was there any?
It did stimulate the economy because somebody got the 58 grand
Yes,
for that
yes.
card, you know?
Somebody with an eBay account.
Did they say what they're going to do with it? So, I mean, is this something where it becomes seized and then auctioned off? And
I hope so. I hope that it becomes seized and then someone within the federal government like keeps it. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I know that like the head of the Small Business Administration said that he wants the government to try to get back all of the fraudulent money that was awarded, which was a lot. It was like $4.5 billion
yeah,
of that program of $20 billion. So, maybe this Pokemon card gets seized. Maybe it becomes a possession of the United States.
yeah. I liked the idea we were tossing around of how, if has he been convicted or is he just accused? Are these allegations?
I think indicted. I think
Okay.
not convicted.
So, if he did actually do the crime,
Right.
I believe they make him stand out in front of that courthouse and slowly tear the card apart while crying, but still pay restitution.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think it's the only thing that makes sense.
Don't you think we get that money back though?
No, I think this is actually better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know what? They televise it, sell ads against it. Windfall for everybody. Jeff, if you had $58,000 legitimately that you could just spend on anything, what would it go towards?
Not a Pokemon card. Well, we were joking about home repairs. There's definitely some stuff around the house.
Jeff's
that
painting
my
his house
wife
blue.
would-
Yeah,
Gonna get some super
finally
expensive.
afford that
Well, maybe
paint.
I
One
can,
can
maybe I
of blue
can
paint.
sell that paint I have to
Yeah.
just finance that.
I got you. That just sounds.
Maybe that's our next story.
That's too many steps.
Man sells can of blue paint for record amount.
All right. Mine, in case you missed it this week, we brought back an old show that we haven't done in about 18 months as a result of pandemic limiting our resources. And on Engineering by Design, I do 3 different stories in the design engineering realm. And sometimes I do them because I find them ridiculous or funny. And one of the stories this week was a weight loss device that bolts onto your teeth to stop you from eating. So researchers in New Zealand and the UK developed a new weight loss device. It's called the Dental Slim Diet Control, and it's an intraoral device installed in your teeth that only allows you to open your mouth 2 millimeters. So it keeps you on a liquid diet. The device consists of closed field magnets and orthodontic bands, and it's bolted into your mouth. It's in a recent trial, participants said that they could still breathe and speak with relative ease, which is good,
Relative ease.
but it made life, quote, less satisfying.
Oh,
Less
so
satisfying.
sad.
Oh,
Makes
man.
life sad.
In a 2-week trial, the subjects leading less satisfying lives lost about 14 pounds, which worked out to about 5% of their body weight. And I mean, I know that we're not really a panel of fad dieters, but Anna, would you ever bolt a device into your face for a fad diet?
No, I would not.
Hot take, Anna. Hot take.
It like makes me claustrophobic to think about it. I know there's like some sort of escape hatch or something like they give you
They
a
give
tool,
you a
right?
tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, escape hatch. Like if I need to make sure I'm carrying an emergency key to my face, I don't think I need that device.
Key to my face.
Yeah.
So like if you choke or something, then you can just like
Yeah, or like no, if you have to, if you have a health emergency, what are you supposed to do? Like trying to get your face. Oh no, they can talk. They can talk. So that was the tool. I
so
apparently
unlock
decided
my
to
face.
grab a
You just
receipt
yell
level.
unlock my face. Yeah.
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 Unlock my face.
Unlock my face.
I mean, no, and if you see, I mean, it's just the first generation of the device in the trials, but I mean, it is no petite device on one tooth stuck to another. It is like the last 3 or 4 on both sides, a lot of metal.
So what is the difference between this and remember when they would say someone's jaws would be wired shut?
Yeah.
What's that?
The difference, I think the difference is that you can talk. It's that 2 millimeters of give. So that way you can talk and it's easier to drink, apparently.
Okay.
I think when your jaws are wired shut, life is even less satisfying. Yeah.
Ugh,
No,
This looks horrible.
I hate it.
that's the nice one. So like if you scroll, that's the updated version that they're like the next generation version of it. And yeah, it so this one just has it bolted on one tooth, but as you go through the story, it'll show it goes through like the back 3 molars. And I mean, I get it because they said it's, we have a global, there it is. I mean, that's a lot of metal back there, man. We have a global obesity problem. And they say, I mean, basically the researchers are like, hey, when, things are really bad, you need to take extreme measures. And this might be the extreme measure that you need to take.
I guess if somebody is like, maybe they're not qualified for bariatric surgery or something, and they do need to take an extreme measure, maybe this is better than, or something that they can do that's like, but man,
Yeah.
you could like pop that thing open. That's what I would do. If
No.
I had it, I know that I would just be like, well, it's time for lunch.
That's
Pop that thing open.
Yeah.
Eat
so
a sandwich.
yeah, producer Alex just asked if what's to stop them from using the tool to pop it open and have pizza.
Yeah.
I think nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, well, I don't know because I
Nothing's-
know it has to be installed by your dentist. Maybe it's not that easy. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Nothing's stopping me, Alex.
This just looks medieval. Like it really does.
it
This
is-
is extreme.
I
That
joked-
is the right term.
yeah, I joked about it being a chastity belt for your face, and it just is.
It's
Yeah.
creepy.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we also covered robot rats that are used to control living rats, and that's problematic. And how DARPA wants to weaponize fog. So check that one out. That was really cool too. All right, Jeff, let's move on to your in case you missed it this week. What do you got for us?
So, David, we know how you feel about fruit-filled pies.
Yes.
And we know how you feel about fruit-filled donuts.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about Pop-Tarts?
I love Pop-Tarts.
You do?
I do.
Even with fruit in the middle of them.
Yes, but okay, so to the story you're talking about, I never thought that was fruit. I thought that was more of a like, what's inside a gusher? You know? I thought it was more...
What is inside a gusher?
Yeah, I was
Somebody
thinking...
tell us.
I always thought like Pop-Tarts were like two, somewhat flavorful wafers
But
with
doesn't
melted gummy bears
it
in there.
still tastes like fruit, though.
I don't know. It kind of tastes like really gritty sugar paste. I never got a fruit vibe from a Pop-Tart.
I mean, it tastes like,
But
there's
it-
not a lot of it, but it does taste like
a
fruit.
flavor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's like, it tasted more like a candy fruit flavor to me.
But that's my point. It's still fruit.
Yeah, but see, no,
And that's
but
your
like,
issue.
Tell everyone
No.
what we're...
okay,
this-
so, no, but like, when you're talking about pastries like donuts, those actually have like fruit, a fruit-based concoction injected into it. And so you're still like tasting actual fruit in there, where this is just some sort of like strawberry flavored paste, a thin layer to complement.
You have
frosting.
you have a lot of layers, David Manti.
I know.
You have a lot of layers. Well, Anita Harris is bringing a $5 million lawsuit against Kellogg's because she thinks their name Frosted Strawberry Toaster Pastries is false, misleading, and deceptive. Basically, her claim is that there is not enough strawberry in these Pop-Tarts for them to say that they're strawberry Pop-Tarts. Now, I can't say that she's wrong.
Yeah.
Because when they talk about it containing 2% or less of wheat starch, salt, dried strawberries, dried pears, and dried apples, that does not scream strawberry at me either.
2% or less.
So she's got a point, but I guess to what you were saying, I never picked up a box of Pop-Tarts feeling like, you know what, I really kind of want some strawberries, but I'm
Yeah.
going to use Pop-Tarts instead.
This is going to fulfill the food pyramid.
Right.
No, I mean, I really don't care for litigious and stupid people. And that's all I got from this story.
Yeah, I mean, she has a point in terms of labeling on food products. I mean, that has become more and more, as you said, litigious, I guess.
Yeah.
It seems like we should have better things to do. I think this is a bit extreme. But, I mean, what if they just said it was a strawberry flavored Pop-Tart?
Yeah.
Would that stop you from buying it? I mean.
No, I don't think that's the point, though. I mean, I don't know what the point is for her. Maybe the point is money.
Yeah.
But what the lawyer interviewed that was in this article says, like, this is really kind of a flip of a coin because there have been some really popular like food labeling lawsuits lately that have gone after this kind of specific issue, which is what can you say on packaging and still be telling the truth? And I think that that's actually a fair argument to be considering, like, well, if this isn't strawberries in this product, then how can you say that it is a strawberry food if it's not, So
Yeah. And I guess my takeaway from this for manufacturers is just go that extra step
And say
to
flavored.
avoid stuff like this because people are being overly analytical, overly scrutinizing everything. Just avoid one less headache, I guess.
David's buying Pop-Tarts right now.
So how can
on
you
his computer.
call a chicken patty and not have chicken in there? That's misleading.
Well, I saw that there's a lawsuit I think was filed against Morningstar Farms for
God.
its veggie dogs because they hardly contain any vegetables, even though they're just
Yeah.
So, but like, and there was another one that they mentioned about like Honey Bunches of Oats does not have very much honey in it.
Yeah.
It has
That
neither honey nor oats.
So I guess that, but I mean, again, like I feel like there's got to be. I think the lawsuit's stupid, right?
Yeah.
But like I
Let's
get
get that out of the way.
Yeah, I'm not for this, but I do think like making sure that the packaging on a product is transparent and truthful is important.
I think, definitely. When companies use words like natural, they use words to make the product seem healthier. That is, if you look at the cover of Pop-Tarts, I'm seeing nothing other than maybe taking the fruit, like the actual pictures of strawberries
on it,
up.
though. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you can make the connection that, well, there's 2 strawberries on the box. So clearly, this is the person eating strawberry Pop-Tarts and pizza and thinking they're getting enough fruit and vegetables in their diet.
Do you think there are even 2 strawberries in that whole box of 16, though?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say not in an entire pellet. We had some questions earlier, particularly from myself, about the ingredients of a gusher. And a gusher, which actually I wonder how close it is to the ingredients of a Pop-Tart, is sugar, corn syrup, dried corn syrup, pear puree concentrate. There's your fruit, modified cornstarch, fructose, maltodextrin, and palm oil. So I got a feeling that Pop-Tarts are the exact same thing. It just says strawberry puree concentrate in the middle.
Why do we got to say dried corn syrup? Can't we just say corn syrup? It just makes it sound way grosser.
All the corn syrup.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Frozen corn syrup.
No,
Dehydrated corn syrup.
I mean, these lawsuits get so much play in the media because it makes people so angry. And this one to me is just it's a little waste of time. I don't know.
No, I'd agree.
I don't think they're fighting the good fight on that one.
No.
I apologize.
It's a class action, though, so if anyone disagrees, you can get involved.
Yeah. If you disagree, please email me with your arguments, because I need to know what it is. Just like, I've been wronged for years. Can't believe I have never mind. Anyway, let's move on to our final thoughts this week. Anna, let's start with you. What is your final thought for our viewers, readers, listeners?
I'm going to have to change it because I just want to say, Jeff, it was great being on the same side as you for that eVTOL and just like going after David from both sides, because usually we're not on the same.
This is true. It felt good.
Yeah.
I prefer it when I'm the lone wolf.
No, you don't.
And you guys are both wrong.
The lone wolf.
I don't understand why you guys wouldn't want to just, fly.
Let it go, David. You were wrong. Just let it go.
I'm not wrong. I mean, actually, this type of story, we can both be right, because I can buy one, and you guys can watch me have fun in it.
No.
You're like, bad.
Just like run through a field and that you'll feel free. I don't know. You don't need this thing.
Are you equating the free power of flight to sauntering through a cornfield?
I didn't say saunter. I said run.
Okay. I'll try both.
And I'm going to chase you. Yeah.
Sounds good.
That'll just be the podcast next week. Just watching Anna chase David through a cornfield.
You better run.
I didn't know she was so fast. Jeff, what's your final thought this week?
So Halloween this weekend should be interesting. It's we're in a weird place because we love the smaller kids coming up to the place to get the candy, but like our kids are gone now.
Yeah.
So it's also this sort of cool, almost vacation weekend for us because they're just gone doing stuff.
Yeah.
So kind of actually looking forward to Halloween for two really weird reasons. So,
What's your go-to Halloween candy
that we hand out?
Yeah, so I mean, you hand it out, but you overbuy hoping that you have some left over.
Oh, the peanut butter cups, without a doubt.
Easily.
Okay.
Yep.
I prefer the Werther.
God.
I like to buy a smattering.
You buy the candy that gets your house egged.
I do, but no, I just put that at the bottom of. We're gonna go with Pirate Booty this year. Like
that's good.
Yep.
Yeah.
It looks big, but it's still cheap. No.
And then when you run out, it's all Brock's Neapolitan chews.
That's right. The caramels, the square caramels.
Oh, I like those.
I do too. I love them.
I wouldn't hand them out for Halloween though.
No, it's like when you tell them they could take a handful and they're like, yeah, come on.
Aw, the blue peppermints. No.
Butterscotch. Just like, that's delicious. Anna, what's your preferred? Oh, the peanut butter cup?
Yeah, it's none of this garbage that you're.
Gotcha. I'm bringing it all in for the office. All right. My final thought is how we receive some crazy pitches, crazy emails on a daily basis. And man, are the spammers getting creative. So I just want to go and say congratulations to the spammer that made my inbox this week with the subject line, "You did this to me," with a crying emoji.
No way.
Yeah, thought that there was a little bit more cause for concern there. And so that one popped up and I'm just like, gonna have to have more conversations with the team. But the rest of the email said, "I was surfing the waves on the internet and came across your website. More so, it distracted me with its compelling content so well that my cat, Uzi, and I haven't gotten any work done all day."
Eee.
I just got to say, if you are a spammer in any way, and
I paid you a compliment.
Oh no, it was all spam. Like, and so after these 2 lines, it was just like, I'd like to insert some embedded links, and if you could post these articles for me, it was all spam. But it was like a very creative thing. And her cat named Uzi apparently is something because she wanted to put advocacy articles onto the website. It was just, sorry, I should have said after those 2 lines, it wasn't a compliment. It was spam trying to solicit space on our website for free.
I see.
And yeah, no, keep the compliments coming after that one.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be getting any more after that.
You're here to defend spammers?
If you want to email the podcast, it's Anna@IEN or Jeff@IEN.com.
Those are the only people to email.
Yeah.
I don't think
You
so.
want-
Email me. I'll have a response.
But will they want the response?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I make sure it's different and creative for everybody. All right. Before we get out of here, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. And to email the podcast, you can reach me at david@ien.com. You can also reach Jeff and Anna, Jeff@ien.com and Anna@ien.com. But you can particularly reach me with email the podcast in the subject line, not you did this to me with a crying emoji. All right. Also, make sure to subscribe to our daily and weekly newsletters. Make sure you get the podcast in your inbox first. All right. For Jeff and Anna, I'm David Manti. This is the Today in Manufacturing podcast. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Today in Manufacturing podcast.